Please help me welcome to the stage Mr. George Pèrez. George, you are personally involved in a charitable organization built around superheroes and their creators. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's called the Hero Initiative. Originally it was called ACTOR, a commitment to our roots. But it confused everybody. I mean, we're not Hollywood. And basically I've been the co-chairman of the disbursement committee of a charity that basically helps out artists in need. Those who help build this industry, those who continue working in this industry, and for whatever reason have fallen on hard times. I mean, we've done everything from pay their rent to pay for funeral expenses. And I've been very lucky and proud of the fact that in the years that I've been working in the Hero Initiative, they'd say I'm probably the largest fundraiser, having raised in the course of the 10 years I believe that they've been around, in 6 figures as far as personally raising charity money. In fact, due to a few bad breaks and everything else, I ended up at one point, believe it or not, despite my success, had to go to the Hero Initiative in order to get help. So if it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone, which is why the Hero Initiative is needed. Because it's not just, people who are old, people who are just, in their later years and are, didn't have health insurance. It can happen to anyone. I mean, I've already paid back my debt to the Hero Initiative, and going to conventions, I should be out of debt totally in 2 years. So like, it's been working for me. But again, I can't stress enough, if you love this industry, for those who remember the case of Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, how they were suffering despite the fact that there was an enormous multi-million-dollar Superman movie coming out. We want to avoid Siegels and Schusters in that respect. So for those who help build the industry, that's what the Hero Initiative is for. For those who continue working in the industry, I mean, like myself and others who have needed the Hero Initiative, that's what we're here for. So go online, make a donation, join the Hero Initiative. Sometimes if you get a certain membership, you get a free sketch. I've been doing sketches for the Hero Initiative as a little incentive. So you can get, and it won't be one of these quickie ones that I have to do here. I actually put, Wonder Woman's actually a brunette when I have to draw them for the Hero Initiative. I do put the blacks in that I can't have the time for. But it is a very, very worthwhile cause. And unfortunately, because we are almost all of us freelancers, I mean, I do have access to insurance because I'm exclusive to DC, but there have been so many who don't have basic insurance, or they came into the industry before there were royalties, so they have no participation in any of the books that are reprinted of their work. I came in at the right time, and I want to give back to those who, if they weren't there, neither would I, and let's face it, neither would you. Okay, thank you.
Pèrez, thank you so much. Just, boy, for coming out on your birthday weekend, but for your contribution to the mythos that we love so much. My question is related to that. Looking back, we all see how you so directly shaped the mythos of our favorite heroes. Did you realize that at the time? Did you set out saying, this is where I want to see these characters go, and this is the ethos I'm trying to bring about?
Well, mostly obviously I'm working with writers, so obviously it's always a team effort. But our job is to create a crackerjack story. I mean, to make a good story that, if it stands the test of time, fantastic. But the first is like, make these characters alive. Like when I did the Teen Titans with Marv Wolfman, I never expected them to be as successful as they ended up becoming. I didn't think they'd last 6 issues. When I took on Wonder Woman, I had a specific Wonder Woman story I wanted to tell, which ended up being the Challenge of the Gods. I wanted to do a Wonder Woman as if it was producing a Ray Harryhausen movie. That was my goal. I just wanted to tell a fun story. The fact that they became long-lasting is something that is important, because don't put the cart before the horse type of deal. If you're going in order to try to make a legend, you're usually going to fail because you're looking at it. It's like when I tell a person who wants to join the industry, who wants to make big money or sell it to the movies. No, draw a comic because that's what you want to do. You want to tell a story, you want to draw. If you don't want to do that first, just for the sheer love of it, and only thinking about the money and everything that's ancillary and down the line, you're basically you're doing Hollywood. Basically, you're just going for big concept, but there's no heart, there's no meat, there's no long lasting. You can be replaced with the next new trend later. I'm very proud of the fact that, I mean, tomorrow I turn 58 years old. I've been in this industry 38 years. And I'm still the pretty girl at the ball. I mean, I still get invited because and as I tell everyone, I love drawing comics. I love telling stories. The fact that I earn a decent living, the fact that I make movies, decent living, yes, of course I have responsibility. I do want that. I don't care about the movies. If they do it, fantastic. When they made the Titans cartoon, oh my gosh, I earned a ton of money. But that wasn't why I did the comic. I did the comic because Marv Wolfman can come to me and we said, let's try to do something a little different with the Teen Titans franchise, and I thought he was nuts. But once he let me be involved in the plotting, issue 8, A Day in the Lives. That was the story that turned me around on the Titans, when suddenly they became personalities to me. It also happened to be the issue I was working on when I met my current wife. So it has a double meaning for me. But yeah, no, the thing is, I never go into comic thinking I'm creating something long-lasting. I just want to entertain. And it's like doing movies. I seriously doubt that most of the movie makers back in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, were looking at something that in the 2000s could be considered a classic. No, they wanted to entertain. Yes?
The Crimson Plague, is that not...
From the Crimson Plague book, unfortunately that was an experiment that was an utter failure for me financially. And it was fun. I mean, and the thing I enjoyed about it was I drew that everybody in my creator-owned series, for anyone, one or two of you have read it, was that everybody, from the lead to every minor supporting character, was a real person. It was like my love letter to the fans, where every single character was a real person. So if I'm drawing a crowd scene, it's not just drawing individual faces, it's drawing individual recognizable faces. You have to use photo reference for every single one of them. And unfortunately, because as writer, editor, penciler, inker, and supervising the color, I was too expensive. I was losing money hand over fist. I could earn more money just penciling an issue of the Avengers than I could for my own creative book, Crimson Plague, doing everything. And I was losing money every issue. So despite the fact that it was a noble experiment, and I'm proud of giving my fans a bit of a limelight, because I actually did a charity event where as many people could come to the Heroes Convention in North Carolina who were in the book. I arranged for them a special cover featuring them that they could autograph, and then we would have some kind of scavenger hunt for those autographs, and the money went to charity. So I made my fans the stars. I put my fans on the other side of the table, let them enjoy what I've been enjoying all that time. And I was busting with pride watching, in some cases, some who never even really read comics all that much, suddenly being in a comic convention where people were asking for their autographs. I was so thrilled. That's my one greatest memory of doing Crimson Plague. Even though the book failed financially, I made a lot of people happy. That was a lot of fun.
Wow.
We have a hand right over here.
I should have seen plenty of hands. Those all down in their laps.
I just want to thank you for entertaining me for so many years, and I love your work, and I would just like get issues that you would, produce, or your artwork, and then sometimes like when you would stop your art on a certain book, then I just wouldn't be as interested anymore because your art was just so fantastic and added so much to the storyline. I was wondering, like, have you ever had like disagreements with writers where you didn't really want to draw something, you didn't like the storyline, and did you not want to do it, you didn't want to see it in the comic book? Did you ever have problems with
Well, lately more than ever, actually. Without expounding on that, lately I've been having a lot more of that. I mean, in every in every book, obviously, there's always going to be creative difference. One of the things that I'm very proud of in most of my career is the fact that the creative differences are just the fact that, okay, I may disagree, but we usually find compromises in that. When it's two creators working together, we're both responsible for trying to get a good story. Sometimes I will have to say, okay, I may not agree with what the writer wants to do, but this is what he really wants, let's do it. And let me make it as dynamic as possible. And sometimes if the writer's giving me a lot of freedom, I will change things. Most of the changing stuff that would require like emphasis on certain characters and the choreography of the fights. Or other little subtle things, particularly in the Titans where I had a lot more freedom. Because Marv and I were very simpatico and Marv liked being surprised. If I came in with something that he didn't imagine in the plot, that challenged him as a writer. The same way that when he gave me something, I'll tell you how Marv and I worked. After a while, there was no written plot. Marv and I we lived close to each other at the time. We would meet at either his house, my house, or a restaurant, whatever, discuss the story, and I would draw it from there. And I would type a plot for Marv based on what I'd drawn, because Marv's memory was terrible. About as bad as mine is now. And that's where he would write. So technically, I was writing the plot. But I was writing the plot after I drew it, so Marv would know what I had just done in case he had forgotten. Or if I changed something from even our discussion. And even when I worked on Legion of Three Worlds with Jeff Johns, who obviously, Jeff was an enormous fan of mine and wanted to do a George Pèrez comic. So, and at this point, DC, much to my regret, is now going, and all the scripts are fully scripted as opposed to plots, which then you draw and then the script comes in so that you have, a lot more input into the story. And Jeff sent me a full script, and with the most humongous panel description I had ever seen was having, all this stuff going on in just one page. How can anyone, even me, fit all that? And then Jeff explained it. What he did was take my Crisis at Infinite Earths and dissected it. To try to describe the panels I drew in Crisis on Infinite Earths, that's what it would look like. If you describe the panel that I did, that's what it looked like. I had never seen it written in text before. So, oh my God, no wonder people thought I was insane. That's what a George Pèrez panel was to him. That's how he broke it down. The thing I had to remind him, yes, because that's not what Marv Wolfman asked for. Marv would say, these characters fight, then I made it into a George Pèrez panel. If you're writing what you consider a George Pèrez panel, you're giving me nothing to do. So from that point on, Jeff Johnson, the only time in his career, went from doing full script to just doing plotting, to let me be George Pèrez again. And unfortunately, with all the books being done more by committee, unfortunately, all the scripts are going through okays, changes. So by the time I get it, it's almost not enough for me to contribute into it. So the fact that I can put my personality in, thankfully I'm working with Paul Levitz on World's Finest. Paul, like everyone else, is being kind of told, we need you to do a full script of that, we have to okay it. But Paul knows, he gives you a full script, he says, okay, this thing takes place on one page. He said, there's not enough going on that one page. I would change things, add some extra scenes, and Paul says, don't worry, George, whatever you put in, I trust you, I'll rewrite it. Paul and I have known each other since we were teenagers, so it's kind of nice to work that way. I'm hoping that my future projects will allow me that leeway, because it seems kind of a shame for somebody else basically to tell someone who's been working as long in storytelling as I am how to draw or choreograph a comic book. I think I've been doing it enough times, and there are a lot of artists in my position who've had the same type of experience. They said, yes, let us do what we've been doing, in my case, for going on 4 decades, and have had a modicum amount of success at it. I'm glad that in the case of World's Finest, the one thing at least they allowed me to do was work with a man like Paul Levitz, who has been there the same amount of time as I've been, and who understands sometimes the best stories are the ones that surprise both the writer and the artist as well.
A lot of you might not know, but George is what was once called a Renaissance man. Besides being a writer and an artist, he's also a stage performer. He's acted, he sang, and dare I say it, danced on stage.
I have the scars to prove that one, yeah.
Could you tell us what moved you towards the theater and maybe some of the roles that you played?
Well, I mean, I didn't find out, I got my theater bug when I was 15 years old. when I went to a summer camp and they were running a summer production, and talk about ambitious, it was Gilbert and Sullivan's The Mikado. And I had an inkling I could sing because I had done some glee clubs or choir stuff when I was in grammar school. They auditioned me and I got the role of Pooh-Bah when I found out I was a bass baritone, not bad for a 15-year-old. And I fell in love with the performing. Unfortunately, there weren't as many opportunities. I wouldn't perform again until my senior year of high school. But I did 110 in the Shade, which is a musical version of The Rainmaker, and enjoyed that. But then I'd be 31 when I started performing community theater, and started with a small role in Guys and Dolls. And my next part, which I was very proud of, comic book character playing a comic book artist playing a comic strip character when I was given the title role in Little Abner. Yes, you can tell that was some time ago. And I enjoyed performing, but as my wife said, I enjoy performing so much that performing is not the only thing I do. I design the sets. I draw their program books. I'm always there to run lines with everyone else. I've memorized their parts. So my work gets affected by spending too much time on stage. That is the one reason I cannot do as much. But when I was in New York, I played Little Abner, I played Emile DeBeck in South Pacific, I played Daddy Warbucks in Annie, and I had to wear a skull cap because I still had hair then. My wife, it was a beautiful skull cap. My wife was wondering, she started saying, "Oh God, he didn't shave his head when he left the house." The guy who did it actually became a professional makeup man. And I also directed. I directed the production of The Sound of Music. And then I was offered a part which I had to turn down. They offered it to me without rehearsal. Actually, two. One, they offered me the role of Judd Fry in Oklahoma, and I would have loved to have played a villain for a change. And they offered me the role of Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof. And they also wanted me to direct that one. But I was moving to Florida and I wouldn't be on stage again until my theater group that I was introduced to in Claremont, Florida. And their first production that I got to watch was Guys and Dolls again. And the first production I did for them was Little Abner. And I was General Boo Moose this time, with my niece Camille as my mistress, which there's a lot of Freudian stuff going on there that we shan't pursue now. But I enjoyed it immensely. Unfortunately, again, I get into it very, very deeply, and my work always suffers. The only other roles I played in The Mikado again. I was playing Pooh-Bah. I played at 15, and I played it again at 55. I understood the part now. I was a kid. What did I understand about that type of stuff? And then the last role I played was Jacob and Potiphar in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And I've been offered other roles which I've had to turn down. They asked me to be Grandpa Joe and Willy Wonka. They asked me to be the stage manager in Our Town. But especially now, since I'm trying to basically get out of debt and earn money, so if something should happen to me, my wife is taken care of. Also, that I'm also saving money because I have to go through eye surgeries. For those who haven't been keeping up on Facebook, I am a diabetic and I have diabetic retinopathy. I have had eye surgeries before, but they say I may have to go to more stringent process, of which they would, in addition to laser, they'd have to injection surgery into my eyes. Which means I would lose a week of work every month for an undetermined amount of time. So of course I want to make sure that we have a nest egg put aside, which means coming to a lot of conventions, thankfully doing a lot of sketches, but also means I can't be on stage because the shows are on weekends. They're doing Damn Yankees right now. They asked me to audition for Applegate and I had to turn them down. I would have loved to have played Applegate, but I'm hoping that in 2 years' time I can get back on stage again and obviously get all the grandpa roles then, because by that point I'll be probably close to 60 years old. But I do love entertaining. That's probably why I don't get nervous in front of crowds.
60's not so bad, trust me.
I know.
Do we have another question? Do I see any more hands? I see a young man right here in the Superman shirt.
What's your favorite superhero draw?
A question I've asked often, particularly when people can't decide what sketch they want. What's my favorite superhero to draw? I don't have one. That's why I do team books. So I can draw as many characters as possible. I don't have to choose among my children. When you guys are asking me, choose your favorite character, that's Sophie's choice. You're damning me by my other characters. I have no one favorite. Because what's my favorite isn't important. If I'm doing a sketch for you, it should be your favorite. So I mean, that's what I'm there for. You're paying money. You should get the sketch you want. You know, I hate to think, oh, I choose it. Oh God, anyone but that. So I mean, that's why I do team books. And from the very beginning of my career, it wasn't like I wanted to draw Captain America. I wanted to draw Captain America. I wanted to draw Thor. I wanted to draw Iron Man. I wanted to draw Vision. So give me the Avengers. Same thing, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern. Give me Justice League, that way I get everybody. If I get bored with the Flash for a while, draw Superman. If I, you know, it was wonderful. And also I like, to me the characters are interesting when they're interacting with each other, which is why I absolutely loved the Avengers movie. Joss's handling of the dialogue and the relationship between the characters was masterful. I mean, that's, to me, there was a columnist who passed on. He used to be the editor of the Comic Buyers Guide, Don Thompson, who one time expressed an opinion that I totally agree. That sometimes it's not the heroes that make interesting stories; it's the people reacting to that hero that makes an interesting story. Which is why when I do comics, when I write my own, or even when I'm plotting, I love introducing a supporting cast where you can see the common person's reaction to the superhero, because you know, without a normal person, a superhero can't be super. Like the line from The Incredibles: "If everyone was super, then nobody is." And I think we need the person who does yell, "Look up in the sky," is just as important as the person in the sky.
Very good. I see a hand over here.
In regards to the depiction of an iconic character, when there is a major change in the appearance, what brings that about, and how much sort of veto power can you as an artist have as to how far you'd like to take it, or is it forced upon you?
Unfortunately, these days, you know, we don't have as much say as we used to. I mean, there are certain things I have protested and at some point said, well, if this is the way you guys want to draw it, you draw the comic. So they have to bow if they still want me on it. So we have to find compromises there. There are certain things I didn't agree on some of the visuals. But again, you know, that's the company I work for. You know, and I have to make some concessions there. Doesn't mean I always enjoy it. In fact, you guys are now responsible for my contentment, because like as much as, I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, depends on your point of view, Marvel and DC in particular both wanted to become major players in Hollywood. There's a price for that. I didn't want to work in Hollywood because there's so many corporate things that, you know, a committee of people all nodding their heads to give you a definite maybe. And unfortunately, with that type of mentality, it's basically a camel, a horse created by committee type of deal. It may be a very good-looking camel, but that wasn't the original plan. So I come to conventions because you guys, if you guys want to sketch, you don't change your mind in mid-sketch. You know what you want. You're the guys plunking down the money for what we do. You are the people because that you must love it, or else why would you be paying for it? The fact that if you're online waiting for a sketch, if you're online standing there for an hour, sometimes longer, that is what I need to see. That is the love of the comics, of what I do, that you can't get by working in the company. Coming to conventions is like a lifesaver to me, to see why I'm in this industry. When people say that, you know, even though I charge for sketches, I don't charge that much for sketches. In fact, the fans were the ones who insisted I charge more. But when I see the fact that you guys, but then those who come to conventions as opposed to obviously an open admittance festival like this, that you would pay money to get into a convention, that you would invest your valuable time to stand on a line, waiting for someone like me to do a sketch for you, to sign a comic for you. I've been paid to be there. I will earn money being there. You guys are the ones making the sacrifice. You guys are the ones who are going out of your way, both financially and in your time, to make me feel important. You guys deserve every consideration I can give you, because without you, I'd be I blister my thumbs twiddling. And I don't like to twiddle my thumbs. Yes, I'm working hours on end, doing sketches, doing signing, because without you guys, it now would be an empty experience. I mean, you're my audience. You're the audience that keeps the comics alive. Without you, we may as well print paper and throw it into the wind. So I thank you, because you guys don't really realize, no, not that we're slaves, that every fan can then say, I want you to draw this way. No. My job is to enthrall you. My job is to surprise you. My job is not to be a slave to you, but my job is to entertain you. I'm the clown. And I take that very seriously. So conventions, being at this festival, that's what's keeping me going in the industry now. Thank you.
George, what was the process that brought you to the first 6 issues of Superman? Did you seek that, or did DC come to you?
DC approached me. Actually, it was Dan DiDio specifically approached me, because as I mentioned, at that point I was going through my preliminary eye surgeries. So my wife was also getting very concerned that I was having trouble focusing on artwork, and maybe doing something where I didn't have to draw all that detail would have been a way of being able to earn money and give my eyes a chance to do some recovery. And so writing, which I was loath to do, because my last experience with writing is, unfortunately, when you're writing major characters, you sometimes have to make a lot of compromises. I mean, but I was given certain promises, which unfortunately, not through any fault of Dan DiDio, it just became the fact that he was no longer the last word. I mean, there's a lot of people now making decisions, and sometimes they're counterpuntal. They're constantly going against each other, contradicting one, and again, in mid-story. The people who love my Superman arc, the first 6 issues, I thank you. What you read, I don't know. Because the fact that after I wrote it, I was having such frustration, I told them, here, this is my script. If you change it, that's your prerogative, don't tell me. Don't ask me to edit it, don't ask me to correct it, because I don't want to change something and then you're going to change again in case you disagree. I said, no, this is Superman is a big character. I was flattered by the responsibility, but I thought, no, this is getting a little tough. I didn't mind the changes in Superman, I just wish it was the same decision, issue 1 to issue 2, and I had to keep rewriting things because another person changed their mind. And that was a lot tougher. It wasn't the same as doing Wonder Woman, where I was basically given a full year to get Wonder Woman established before she actually has to be enfolded into the DC universe proper. And I had a wonderful editor, Karen Berger, who ran shotgun for me. They wanted me to recreate what I did for Wonder Woman, but it's not the same age, not the same atmosphere. I couldn't do it anymore. And the writer who replaced me, and Keith Giffen, was very, very nice. I mean, I've known Keith since we both started in the industry. He called me up when they asked him to do Superman to make sure I wasn't being fired off Superman. And regrettably, I did have to tell him, no, I can't wait to get off Superman. It was not the experience I wanted it to be. The fact that so many people enjoyed it, I'm glad. I hope they enjoyed what I wrote, and I hope that they enjoyed what I didn't write, but they don't tell me. And I don't even want to know, though. My God, I like what they changed. Oh God, they love their job better than mine. But the thing that I enjoyed, again, going back to you guys, was putting in friends into the story. I mean, I just got a text from a friend of mine named Billy McCoy, for those who read it, he was that muckraking reporter in the Daily Planet who was constantly after Superman. That was my birthday gift to him. I made him a character in Superman. A dear friend of mine who passed away, who was an enormous Superman fan, I made the mayor of Metropolis. That's where I enjoyed it. But then, because of Facebook, I got to see the reaction of everybody. He was a helicopter reporter in Superman, Doug Hubler and he was clean cut. It was amazing. Because obviously the artist never met Doug, so I was using the name. But that's the stuff that I really, really enjoyed. And in the case of A World's Finest, the Power Girl and the Huntress are both modeled after friends of mine. In fact, in the cover of issue 2, I've actually put their last names on the cover. And one of them is going to be here at this show. Margie Cox, whom some of you may know, was my model for the Huntress, and she actually made a Huntress costume that's debuting in Metropolis. Yes, so now, when you see her, applaud her. She was my muse. Yeah, and I have another dear friend named Jana, but she's in California. She's Power Girl. But Margie Cox, again, you're going to be seeing her as the Huntress at this show. She wanted to make it in time for this show. She's the Huntress. And like again, if you have your, one of you have copies of World's Finest, give her a thrill. Have her sign it too. Okay? But that's the fun part. And I like doing more and more of that. Because like, I've accomplished every fan dream I had when I got into comics. There were certain things I wanted to do, I pretty much accomplished it all. So now my job is to, to try to fulfill the fan dreams of the writers and the fan dreams of the fans, many of whom have become like family to me. So I said, okay, this I can do. Making Heather Kelly, who many of you also know, as what Clark Kent's love interest and the Ice Woman in the story. That was fun. I mean, those are the things I enjoy now because like I've been at this a long time. I gotta find my pleasure wherever I can find it now. Okay, I've run on and on and on. Obviously, one question, three answers.
We have time for one more question. We run over time.
But no answers.
Which is straight back behind you, Supergirl.
I loved your Superman sequence. I loved your Wonder Woman. The only time I've ever read Wonder Woman. And as some of the other people have said, just a fantastic storyteller. You were just tremendous. And not to open up old wounds, I've been reading Superman in some way, shape, or form since I was 4 years old. I've seen the relaunches coming and going. I love Wayne Boring. I love different things, eras. What happened when Byrne left and you had that beautiful cover redo of Superman #1 and you were going to be one of the big people and then all of a sudden you weren't there anymore and I don't remember even reading anything about what
Well, the thing is,
happened.
and I'll take blame for that. My own ego and getting used and the being spoiled because of Wonder Woman. It was not easy for me to write part of a story since there was also Roger Stern, Jerry Ordway, other people were involved in Superman. And I realized that I wanted to do something with Superman, but everything had to be worked around the other characters. Like if I wanted to do a Superman story where he basically got trapped in the Fortress of Solitude, and to reemphasize the fact that there's a lot more terror in him than used to be, the Fortress of Solitude treats him like a virus. But in order to do that, Superman had to be out of the limelight for a while. Well, I couldn't do that if he's in the limelight in the Jerry Ordway story, Roger Stern story, and somebody else. And I found that I couldn't write half a story. So I left Superman because I couldn't play well with others in that regard. So that's my fault. But then everyone understood it. The fact that, I was spoiled on Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was the only book that she appeared in. I had so much freedom. And I was, again, expecting that. Which is what they had promised me in the New 52 version of Superman, which is another reason. I had no idea that Grant Morrison was going to be working on another Superman title. I had no idea he was doing it 5 years ahead, which means I had to, my story, I couldn't do certain things without knowing what he did. And Grant wasn't telling everybody. So I was kind of stuck, oh my gosh, are the Kents alive? What are the relationship with all these characters? Who exists? And DC couldn't give me answers. I said, oh my gosh, you're deciding all these things, and even you don't know what's going on in your own books. So that became very frustrating. But in the case of that original run with Superman, that was me. I just realized the story, because they said whoever comes in first with an idea gets priority. And one time I came in and I did beat them, and they said, no, I think we want to do this story, which unfortunately we can't do your story because we're going to go with this one. And I said, well, that's not what you promised. And obviously, it was going to be the type of stuff that I didn't want it to be, me being the prima donna and forcing other people to conform to my stuff. If I'm the one having trouble, I'm the one who should leave. I'm the one, if I'm the one who's not playing well with others, I should be the one to leave. I never begrudge an editor firing me if I'm screwing up, because that's what an editor should do. And not because I'm George Pèrez, superstar artist. No, I'm George Pèrez providing a product. There was a time when I was falling behind schedule and everything. I was blackballed from DC, at least as far as getting work. And so when I started inking the Titans that Dan Jurgens drew, they had to fight to get me there because they didn't trust that I would stay on the book for an entire, at least a year. And so I signed a contract and I stayed on a year and 3 months. And then when the Avengers resuscitated my career, those same editors were the same ones who congratulated me for rebuilding my career. Because the Avengers, I proved, that I could stay on the book. I was the only artist on Heroes Return who lasted a full year without a fill-in, and I had double-sized issues of which I did not have another artist helping me out. I did them all myself. So Mark Waid was the person who commented I had a John Travolta career in comics. And the fact that Mark supposed said, I lost money on you. Because they did bet that I'd be the first person to not be able to maintain the deadline for 6 months. And every other artist did not last 6 months, and I lasted 2 years before getting a fill-in. Because I knew that I can't live on the reputation. One thing I hate ever is to be coming to a convention as the old pro, particularly, I'm so young, who's just living on past glories. I like being valid in this industry. The fact that as I said before, I'm still the pretty girl at the dance. I'm still asked to dance. I can turn down suitors who ask me to dance because I'm still viable in this industry, even despite the fact that, you know, there are people working in this industry who weren't even born when I started. But like the old master gunfighter, there's always that young buck who's going to be coming into town to prove that they're faster on the draw than me, both figuratively and literally in this case. So I have to keep home. I don't feel as much sympathy for other artists who say, like, you know, well, the fans aren't with me anymore. You know, they're buying this other person's work. If you don't show love for what you do on the page, because you're tired or you're jaded, don't expect the fans to see it. Right. They can tell if you're just doing this for a paycheck. And for me, I get paid a pretty penny. I could earn a hell of a lot more money if I did a little less work, but the fans will be able to tell, oh my God, George is getting lazy. I created this Frankenstein called George Pèrez, and like that's the one I have to live with. And considering my success, I'm glad that at least I created a friendly, if somewhat crazy monster. Thank you, guys.
Before we go, I got 2 points I need to make. Point number 1. George, when we leave the stage, we're supposed to go up to the statue for photo ops.
Right.
Point 2, when we leave the stage, we're going up to the statue for photo ops. All right?
Yes, because I left a long line of people waiting for sketches and autographs at the room because the line was there. And that's why I ordinarily don't do panels, but thankfully I made sure that they all were handed numbers so they don't lose their place in line. Because I hated for them to just stand there or stand there for an hour without the line going anywhere. So hopefully they all went and got something to eat.
So the man who can put more detail into one panel than most artists put in an entire issue, Mr. George Pèrez.
The Superman of the Metropolis Award. So now you are the official Superman of the Metropolis. Now, I have one other surprise for you. You made such a sacrifice leaving your lovely wife and spending your birthday with us. Now, I realize your birthday's tomorrow, but I know you're so busy, so we thought we better go ahead and do this together, okay? So, Superman, if you please.
I know.
Thank you.
Amen. Hey, I've been working on that. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I have not had to grow up in 30 years. All right. That's right.